Hello, YouTube. Todd Shannon, data scientist, social commentator, getter of buckets. What are we talking about today? Joe Biden is a pathological liar. I say pathological almost in a clinical sense. Now, I know I'm not a clinician. I am not a licensed psychologist or anything. But when we say someone is a pathological liar, that has made it into our kind of normal vernacular as something where we just saying that person lies a lot. No. To say someone is pathological is much deeper than that. It means oftentimes they lie when it doesn't even benefit them and things of that nature. And so we will touch on that in just a moment here. But I want to get right into it because I think that it cannot be overstated the depth of Joe Biden's dishonesty and how long we have known that Joe Biden is dishonest. And the reason why this is so important is that given the recent revelations or the obvious apparent connection between Joe Biden and Hunter Biden and his business dealings, I think it's important to take his claims that he never knew anything about it in context of the fact that Joe Biden has been a dishonest person at least for the last 4 decades, and we've known about it. So I want to start with this. Many of you may know, or you may not know. I think probably many of you, if you are, certainly if you watch left-leaning news sources, you probably don't even know about this, that in 1988, Joe Biden ran for the presidency, and he actually had to drop out of the race because it was found out that he plagiarized half of his speeches. And when being confronted about that, someone suggested that he wasn't that smart. And he goes into this tirade, essentially ending his presidential bid in one fell swoop. Let's listen.
New Hampshire. I went to law school on a full academic scholarship, the only one in my class to have a full academic scholarship. Went back to law school and, in fact, ended up in the top half of my class. I was the outstanding student in the political science department at the end of my year. I graduated with 3 degrees from undergraduate school and 165 credits, only needed 123 credits.
Biden now concedes he did not graduate in the top half of his law school class, that he does not have 3 degrees from college, and that he was not named outstanding political science student in college.
Newsweek says Biden actually went to school on a half scholarship, ended up near the bottom of his class, and won only 1 degree, not 3.
Joe Biden ranked 76th in a class of 85 at the University of Syracuse Law School. I mean, this guy comes off this whole thing as a flyweight.
Now Biden says Newsweek is right. His memory had failed him.
And I'd be delighted to sit down and compare my IQ to yours if you'd like, Frank.
Joe Biden.
That was like 35 years ago. We haven't even gotten into the fact that he just completely lifted whole swaths of political campaign speeches that came from John F. Kennedy and some other politician from the UK. He just completely lifted it, which is what started this whole snowball of uncovering Joe Biden's lies. Now, when someone challenged his intelligence, he went off on that tirade. And every single thing he said was false. He says his memory failed him. No, friend. His memory didn't fail him. He just lied. Now we're going to get into why some of this stuff seems to be pathological, because I mentioned earlier that he says these things almost he often lies in it. There is no obvious or apparent benefit to the lie. You can understand why he might lie in a presidential campaign where he's embellishing his accomplishments to make him seem more competent than he is. He said he graduated top of his class. Come to find out, he was 76th of 85. Sheesh. Talk about missing it by a few. But this right here is inexplicable. Let's listen.
His son, Beau. Before that, his first wife and his young daughter in an accident. There's no questioning that. That happened. That is real. He has drawn on that experience to comfort other people who were hurting. I think that's admirable. But for many years, Biden would tell the story about that accident with a villain, the truck driver who was involved. And he would say that the driver was drunk. That turned out to be absolutely false and incorrect. According to the police department, the police report, local officials, a judge weighed in saying, no, this was not a drunk driving situation. In fact, Biden's former wife accidentally drove into the path of the truck. It was a terrible accident. The guy was not drunk. There were no charges filed. But over and over again for years, Biden called the guy a drunk driver. And this man's family has been desperately asking him to stop. Stop tarnishing and smearing the legacy of our dad or husband or uncle, that sort of thing. But Biden said it over and over again. For dramatic effect, why do you have to embellish anything about something that sad already?
So just to make sure you're clear, Joe Biden's first wife actually was killed in a car accident. And for years, he even persisted after the request from the family of the person who was involved in the accident, after they implored him to stop telling that lie and smearing his name. He said repeatedly over and over and over that the person who his wife was in a car accident with was a drunk driver, when in fact, his wife swerved over into his lane and was as much at fault for the accident as anyone. There were no fouls, no charges filed on the gentleman. He was not found to be intoxicated. It was a lie. And the question is, it's not apparent how he even benefited from it. It doesn't even make any sense. It's already a tragic story and it elicits sympathy on its own. But it doesn't stop there. Guy Benson, that was the person that was actually just in that video that I just showed you, wrote a story on this Biden and his long list of weird lies. And this is why I say it's pathological, even though I'm not a licensed clinician or anything like that. I can't diagnose him, but I got to know that this is pretty close to the definition of being a pathological liar. He says, let's face it, Joe Biden's serial lies and embellishments about his biography are shamelessly weird. Yes, weird is the appropriate word. Listen to this lie that he told. President Biden told graduating midshipmen at the Naval Academy Friday that he applied to the school in 1965. Now, I just want to emphasize here, this happened during this presidential cycle, right? So he's already president. It's not a campaign speech. Why he's telling this lie is I don't know. It boggles the mind. President Biden told graduating midshipmen at the Naval Academy Friday that he applied to the school in 1965, but a quick check of his biography shows problems with the story. Biden said he applied to Annapolis with a letter from then Delaware Senator J. Caleb Boggs, but the year he cited, 1965, is the same year he graduated from the University of Delaware. The academy doesn't offer graduate degrees. Now, let's just make sure you understand what that means. He says he applied to the Naval Academy, right? But that was the same year, the year he cited, it was the same year he actually graduated from the University of Delaware. So the only way it would have made sense for him to apply to the Naval Academy is if he was going for a graduate degree at the Naval Academy. Well, they don't offer graduate degrees at the Naval Academy. He's president of the United States. This is bizarre. You know, I gotta bring in the Larry David music. I mean, it's just crazy. It's clown music. I mean, it's clown status. Let's go further. After Biden graduated law school in 1968, he reportedly was deemed unfit for military service by citing childhood asthma. His memoir doesn't mention the condition while describing his football exploits or his work as a lifeguard. A report released in November by his doctor also doesn't mention asthma. Now, so to add insult to injury, right? Not only did he make up the whole Naval Academy thing, but he basically was deemed unfit for military service, which would mean that he couldn't go to the military academy, right? Because in 1968, he was reportedly deemed unfit for military service by citing childhood asthma, but it appears that he lied about that. Why? Because his memoir doesn't mention the condition while describing his football exploits or his work as a lifeguard. So he, the asthma didn't bother him with the football thing, didn't bother him with it being a lifeguard, but apparently he was disqualified from military service because of his childhood asthma. It says a report released in November by his doctor also doesn't mention asthma. Does he have asthma or not? I mean, that's not definitive that, he definitely lied about it because some people grow out of asthma, right? I get it. But if you're telling me you're giving this guy the benefit of the doubt, you're a crazy person. He seemed to be lying about that as well. I mean, he made up a story whole cloth about applying to the Naval Academy when there was no apparent benefit to doing so. Why is he doing this? Do you understand why I'm saying it's pathological? I just got one more here for you because this goes on forever. He also lied about being arrested with Nelson Mandela and back in South Africa in the 1970s. He said Joe Biden made that claim, but it says Joe Biden was not arrested in South Africa while trying to see Nelson Mandela. His campaign conceded. He told that story during the campaign. It was a lie. Okay. The U.S. presidential contender had repeatedly said he was arrested during a trip there in the 1970s when South Africa was under apartheid. But a deputy campaign manager told reporters Mr. Biden had been referring to an episode where he was separated from black colleagues at an airport. Mr. Biden is counting on black support to win South Carolina on Saturday. So he's talking to a bunch of black people and he said, oh, listen, man, not a joke. Not a joke. I got arrested with Nelson Mandela. It's not a joke. Not a joke. Then said, oh, wait, that didn't happen. Oh, yeah, no, I really meant I got separated. Okay, getting separated from your black colleagues, that's the same thing as being cuffed and thrown in jail. Absurd. Absurd. Here's why I'm going through all this. This is the whole point. I've been telling people for some time now, or in the last couple videos that I've done, I've mentioned here and there the idea of social engineering, right? The idea that big tech is basically curating a view of reality that shapes the way you think. That's really just a natural extension of what the mainstream media has been doing for decades, and many people have not been aware of it. Joe Biden has had 40 years of pure falsehoods and dishonesty. This guy has been a lying dirtbag for a long time. But what did we always hear about Trump, right? We had MSNBC that wouldn't even carry one of Trump's town halls because they were just like, it's just a matter of principle. We have to protect you from Trump's lies because we know inevitably he's going to say something that's dishonest. And so if he says anything newsworthy, we'll come back and we'll let you know. But we're just not going to show it because we know he's going to lie. They paint Donald Trump as a liar, a pathological liar, when in fact that describes their guy. And as a person who's played basketball and who coaches basketball still, I still coach my son's team. One of the things that's important in basketball is not necessarily whether they call fouls or they don't call fouls, but if you're going to call a lot of ticky-tack fouls, you got to call it on everyone. Call it on both sides of the floor, right? If you're going to let people clothesline somebody and not call a foul, if you're going to let them basically engage in light contact football on the basketball court, that's fine, just as long as you do that on both sides. But the moment my guy breathes on somebody, you're blowing the whistle, then he goes down in the other end and gets clotheslined and you don't blow the whistle. Now we got a problem, okay? Because you're not calling it the same for both teams. And it'd be one thing if they said, oh, Trump's a pathological liar, and then they also did an extensive research during the presidential campaign about Joe Biden's 4 decades of pure bullcrap falsehoods. The fact that he had to drop out of the 1988 presidential campaign because he lied so bad over and over and over again. He got caught that he had to drop out by by reason of embarrassment. He had lost all credibility. So he just said, you know what, I quit. Why does this all matter? Because now there are real consequences, right? There are real consequences. And here we have Tucker Carlson effectively having a conversation with Hunter Biden's former business partner. Now, forever, Mr. Biden has said, that's Joe Biden, that is, has said, I have no idea about any of Hunter Biden's business dealings. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know anything about that. I've never had a conversation about his business. And I just want you to see this brief conversation that Tucker has with Hunter Biden's former business partner.
we found this letter, kind of amazing. It's from January 20th, 2011, which I think puts you in your late 30s, mid to late 30s. Right. Okay, so you're a younger man. This is from the Vice President of the United States, Joe Biden, to you personally, and it's personalized here at the bottom. Devin Archer, Rosemont Seneca Partners, that was your partnership with Hunter Biden in Georgetown. Dear Devin, I apologize for not getting a chance to talk to you at the luncheon yesterday. I was having trouble getting away from hosting President Hu Jintang, who was running China at that point. I hope I get a chance to see you again soon with Hunter. I hope you enjoyed lunch. Thanks for coming. Sincerely, Joseph R. Biden Jr. P.S. Handwritten, happy you guys are together. So there are many levels here. But here's the Vice President of the United States saying to you, a man in his mid-30s, who's not a government official, I'm sorry I was occupied with the guy who runs the world's largest country. I would much rather talk to you, and thank you. What was he thanking you for?
Well, first of all, it's a lovely letter, and it was...
It's quite enthusiastic. It's a little weird, though, right?
Yeah, well, it was kind of the beginning of our partnership, and he was thanking me and thanking Hunter, I think, at the end of the day, for bringing this idea of this government regulatory strategic advisory business into the private equity world. And I think he was excited about the prospects for Hunter, and, he was just thanking me. I think it was a nice gesture.
It was a nice, for sure. For sure. Very polite. It gets a 10 on the etiquette scale.
All right. So here we have Joe Biden, who had said, had been saying forever since his presidential campaign for 2020, I don't know, I've never had any conversations with Hunter about his business dealings, blah, 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 blah. And here we see like 10, 11, 12 years ago, however long ago that was, he's, apparently really occupied with Hunter Biden's business partner. He's like, I got to get away from this, politics guy, this guy that runs, China. I don't know why I'm talking to him. You're my guy. I wish I could have got away to talk to you. Why? He's not a government official. He also testifies, Hunter Biden's business partner, by the way, that at least 20 times Joe Biden was on the phone when they were having conversations with businesses and business ventures overseas in China, Ukraine, wherever, right? This is Joe Biden repeatedly said that he had nothing to do with that. He didn't know anything about that. What is the point here? The point is, and this is especially for those, to me, who I think have for years been low information voters who fell for it, hook, line, and sinker, what they said about Donald Trump. And once again, if they treat Donald Trump rough, that's fine. I just want them to call it both ways. If they say Donald Trump's dishonest, okay, that's fine. What about this guy? Because his grandpa kind of persona that he's trying to protect. Oh, Joe Biden's a family man. Oh, he had 6 grandkids. At least that's what he said. He actually had 7, and the last one he wouldn't acknowledge because it was politically inconvenient. He would never acknowledge his own grandkid. And I do find it a little curious that on the week that this gentleman now testifies that, hey, Joe Biden was president when we were having business conversations with Hunter and his business dealings, now all of a sudden he wants to be Grandpa Joe and acknowledge his 7th grandchild. I think that's kind of weird. That's kind of weird. You can say it's a coincidence. I personally don't think it is. I think the media... they try to manage the media cycle by controlling the narrative and trying to deflect from what's really going on, is that Joe Biden is on the brink of being exposed and having irreparable harm done to his reputation. And he wants to soften that by appearing to be, a nice elderly, just grandpa, go good old Grandpa Joe. Not a joke, not a joke. I love my grandkids. It's not a joke. See, when he says not a joke, that means he's lying. But anyway, friends, I'd like to know what you think. Is this information, is any of this information that I presented to you, is that new? Have you just recently come upon this information? Or is this something that you've known the whole time? I'm curious what you think. And does it affect the way you view him? Let me know. If you like this content, please like, share, and subscribe. Till next time, my friends, God bless you.